A statistic published by the StatiSense shows that there are about 1.64 million people unemployed in River State as at 2020. And according to the National Bureau of Statistics, River State is second after Lagos State, with states with the highest labor force of about 3.92 million and a total of 1.714 million people out of job. My next guest on Point Blank this Saturday says he has solution to addressing the unemployment problem in River State. And he also said he has solution to building capacity of young people in River State. My guest is the candidate of the Action People's Party for the 2023 governorship election in River State. He's an expert in strategy with a PhD in strategy. He has 20 years in the oil and gas sector as an experienced man. He worked with business leaders to identify growth opportunities, advise on business transformation and restoration and restructure, and value through excellence in strategy implementation and capacity efficiency by delivering projects with costs, building strategy and planning framework. My guest, Dr. Lacy Borobosi of the APP, says now is the time to fix River State. And the question is, what is the formula to fixing River State and how will the state be fixed? And it's a great pleasure having joining us in the studio, Dr. Lacy Borobosi. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Shegu. Happy to be here. Good morning, the good people of River State.
And you know, this is the second time you've been here in the studio. And the first time it was not time for political campaigning, but right now it's time to come up with all of these ideologies. Of course, you are not new to politics. 2006 to 2007, you were providing support and you were providing guidance and training for councillorship and chairmanship candidates on the NPP, am I correct?
Yes.
In Gokana. In 2019, you contested on the platform of the APP. And here you are again contesting to be the governor of River State. But again, let us begin with the challenge of unemployment. And you said you've done a lot of strategic work. What do you think is the bane of our problem?
Yeah, I think it's totally around understanding the importance of people having jobs and having structures around governance that can provide solutions to people not being employed. I think let's look at it first from a biblical perspective, because it's very important. The Bible says that a man who cannot take care of his household is worse than an infidel. That is a very powerful statement, because when people do not have jobs, they lack confidence. It makes them difficult for them to even have respect within their family. So for me, people should be at the center. So every other thing we will do will revolve around people. So that's what I'm going to be able to show today, to say what do we need to do. First, I would just like to just quickly highlight what we want to do in governance. And then we will then look at job creation and human capacity development. So what we want to do in governance is at the bottom, as the foundation. We want to look at the Sustainable Development Goals. Those are global standards, talking about inequality, talking about access to water, access to energy, diversity. So that at the foundation is the Sustainable Development Goals. Then on top of that, we're going to have the good and integrated governance, which we had discussed before. Then on top of the good and integrated governance, we're going to have 8 pillars. So the 8 pillars will be including secure society, solid.
Actually, I'm very sorry to cut you short, because in your manifesto, it is 9 key strategic goals.
No, it's 9.
It's nine.
It's 9.
Yes.
Yeah. So at the bottom we have the Sustainable Development Goal.
Yes.
Then on top of that we have the one of the 9, which is the base, heavy base, which is the good and the integrated governance. So that is one of them. Then on top of that, one of them is the 18 that we stand on top of that. So that good and integrated governance will look at a solid economy, we look at secure society, a strong economy, solid education. Then we look at health, access to health care. We look at pension. And then we also look at building 3 new cities. Then what we'll be discussing today, we'll be looking at job creation and human capacity development.
Now, just before we go, because you see, I have read through your manifesto and your value proposition to Rivers people if APP is voted in the 2023 election. And I'm very, very interested in solid education, building 3 new cities, and job creation. Perhaps let's start with building 3 new cities.
Okay. The 3 new cities is that one of the real focus, what we want to do is to ensure that there's development everywhere.
Okay.
So our concept is to decouple River State, to be able to push development down to the rural communities. So the 3 new cities then build that we'll have 1 new city in each senatorial district. Now those new cities, attached to the new cities, will be the industrial hub. So those new cities will really be acting as economic centers. Then we still retain Port Harcourt as the administrative center. So in other words, at the end of the day, you have 4 cities in all. But having each of the senatorial districts, but if you go around River State, you see that there are resources that tend to be peculiar to each of the senatorial districts. So what we want to do is to ensure that there is growth from the bottom. So the 3 new cities allow investors to come to an area and then be able to invest in that area. It provides facilities for them, and then you're able to have growth. Because what then happens at the moment, it appears that every time you need something, you have to travel all the way to Port Harcourt before you can have access to those things. So those 3 new cities begin to drive economic growth in those senatorial districts.
But again, you see, my point is, how are you going to create it? Because I know you talked about collaboration, which is the point I'm coming about. So how does collaboration build these 3 new cities?
Okay, good. So if you look at how cities are built, you then find out that what government does is to provide the institutional framework,
okay,
provide assurances and governance. Now, the private sector really are the people that invest heavily in the building of new cities. So, for example, I want to explain that. If you look at Port Harcourt and you remove all the assets that government owns in Port Harcourt, you then find out that it will be roughly maybe less than 20%, because you are talking about the roads, you are talking about the government buildings. But the rest of the Port Harcourt is what is controlled by private individuals. So our own is that the work of government in building new cities like Dubai.
Now, when you talk about control by private, you're talking about people who do business in Port Harcourt.
Exactly. So yeah, so we provide the framework, and then we market the new cities to the world and to people in Nigeria and people in Rivers State. So that allows private individuals to come in to invest in those new cities. That's where the collaboration comes in. So government provides the framework and encourages the private sector and private individuals to come in to invest in those cities.
You said something in some of your write-up in your manifesto. You said collaboration between governments, local governments, and the private sector is critical. And you said this is critical in achieving your desire. So talk to us about this collaboration. I mean, how does it work? I want you to paint a picture. How can this collaboration work?
Okay, good. So let's use the 3 new cities as an example. Now, when you go to an area, senatorial district, now I want to just highlight, it's not government that will determine where each of those cities will be situated. Government will work with people from each of the senatorial districts to nominate where they want the city to be situated. Mm-hmm. But you now know that the land in those cities are owned by the communities that decide where the city will be located. Now, so you need to now collaborate and work with the chiefs and the owners of the land. So there is now collaboration with the chiefs. Then you also will work with the local government chairmen that work within that senatorial district. So you have to collaborate with them, work with them to be able to attract individuals and give assurances. So if government sets a standard of assurances, because you don't want to go in there and buy land and have problem of land. Because you buy about 2-3 times and things of that nature, So working with the chiefs and working with the local government chairmen provides you that collaboration. So on one side, government talks about policy and attracting investment. On the other side, you have the chiefs, you have the local government who are working to ensure that they operationalize the policies that government has put in place. Mm-hmm. Then you also have the social sector, as an example, the NGOs and the foundations who are working for ensuring that rights of people are protected, who are working to ensure that the social cohesion takes place. So there's that collaboration. What we are trying to do is not to now allow a situation where each sector is just working on their own. We want to be able to have the sector working together with the focus of developing Rivers State.
Fantastic. You're listening to Point Blank, and I'm speaking to the governorship candidate of AAP, Dr. Lason Borobosi. He has over 2 decades of leadership experience in the oil and gas sector. He's been in politics for a very long time. He's an expert in finance, strategy, corporate governance, and transformation. Dr. Borobosi is also is built brands all over the world, and this time around is seeking to be the governor of Rivers State in the 2023 election. And one key thing he said he is ready to do is to fix the unemployment challenge in Rivers State, and this is big. So again, we're talking about, he has a 9-point agenda, and the 9-point agenda, which is contained in his manifesto, also include a secure society, a strong economy, good and integrated governance, solid education, building 3 new cities, and also talking about health services, job creation, pension. But let me come to education. I want us to take time to talk about the unemployment issue. In education, you talked about solid education, and I think you also provide the way, you provide the structure on how to achieve solid education in Rivers State. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so in terms of the solid education, and I will try and link it to the real focus today, which is the job creation and human capacity development. In solid education, we are looking at not just people acquiring knowledge, but we are looking at people acquiring knowledge to solve problems, because people pay for solutions. So once you graduate, for example, you should be able to be in a position to be able to solve problems. If you don't have a job, you should be in a position to be able to be an entrepreneur and look at what societal problems you can solve so people can pay for it. So what we are looking at in solid education, as an example, is the fact that if you look at the job creation to me is like a pool of water. You know, so we have a lot of unemployed people in that pool. Now, so if I scope that pool, there's another water that is coming into that pool. Mm-hmm. The undergraduates today will become graduates tomorrow, and they will come in. So what I want to do is to use that solid education and come into the educational sector, let's say undergraduates, and then encourage them to develop their capacity and encourage them to look at areas that they can provide solution. So even before they graduate, they've been able to take entrepreneurship training. Before they graduate, they've been able to set up their own companies, their own businesses. So that enables them that by the time they graduate, they will be in a position to either they will look for a job or they're able to create job. So that reduces the pressure on me in terms of the number of people that are unemployed.
So again, why do you think previous governments have failed in this area? Because what you've just explained sounds so simple. Why do you think previous governments have failed here?
No, I won't say previous government have failed, but let me say a fundamental thing. A fundamental thing is that Nigeria has never been developed. So what happens is that people come in and come out with postulation of what they think development is all about. But what I'm trying to do, because I've had the global experience, we are looking at countries in the world that have developed. What did they do? So if I give an example of students on campus, I schooled outside the country in my doctoral degree. I schooled in Nigeria and outside. But outside you have what they call like Innovation Week, where undergraduates are able to come out with innovative ideas. And then when they have innovative ideas, they call business leaders, they call government leaders, and they come and witness and they make presentations. And sometimes at the during presentations, the best among them are selected. And so even as undergraduates, they already have business models that people are going to invest in. That's the kind of thing we want to do here. We want to be able to have a technology week, an innovation week, where even as an undergraduate, because most of these undergraduates have very bright ideas, you know, so they have those ideas, they need mentorship, they need training, they need finance, because what other people in the world are doing. So what we are trying to do is to look at what other people have done. So in terms of previous governments, I think what has happened is that people have come out, try to come out with their own idea of what development should look like. And because sometimes the ideas have not been tested, they don't really work. So we want to look at what other people have done and localize and domesticate those global practices.
You know, we're still coming back to the issue of solving the unemployment challenges, particularly here in Rivers State. And one key thing you said is we must move beyond subsistence governance. I've been trying to wrap my head around that. What do you mean by subsistent governance?
Yeah, I think what has been happening is that we are governing and managing to survive.
Oh, so we should move beyond managing to survive.
No. We have to move beyond managing to survive. And let me give an example. What we are looking at about all these things I've said, the whole focus of that is to create happiness.
Okay.
But what are we going to do? Our approach is simple. We're going to consolidate. So we look at what government has done, both past and present government, and look at the good things they've done. Can we consolidate on that? We're also looking at improvement. What areas can we improve? Then we look at our growth engine. Which area can we grow? And then we need to compete. Because what has happened is that we are not competing globally. We need to compete globally. By competing globally and becoming visible to the world, we'll be able to attract foreign investment. So once you move to that direction, you are now moving beyond subsistence.
Okay.
You are trying to, because, like for instance, I don't want to compare Rivers State with another state. Because that's what sometimes happens. Okay, we are better than 2 states, we are better than 20 states. But supposing those states are below global standard, I don't want to compare Rivers State with another state. I want to compare Rivers State with the best in the world. So we move beyond Nigeria. So even if Nigeria is not working, I want Rivers State to work. Because if we bring in global standards into Rivers State, even if the rest of Nigeria is not operating global standards, we will be on top.
Dr. Lacy Borogbosi is with us in the studio. He is the governorship candidate of the Action People's Party. He has a 9-point agenda, if it allowed to steer the ship of Rivers State. And amongst this 9-point agenda is the issue of job creation, human capacity development, and also building 3 new cities. And this morning we're focusing on job creation and human capacity development. What is the formula? How does Dr. Lacy Borogbosi intend to create new job and build human capacity? Don't forget, he is an expert on strategy with 20 years working as a strategist for many companies in the oil and gas sectors. He has built several global brand, and he's right now trying to fix Rivers State. And we're looking at that strategy. We're looking at his formula. Let's drop on the telephone line. We'll just take a couple of calls now. 080-070-5079-1021 and 081-174-31021. Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is Point Blank Saturday.
Good morning,
Good morning, sir.
This is Emmanuel calling you from Jari.
Emmanuel, good morning.
Thank you. I do the guest in the studio.
Yeah, good morning.
Chief Shegu, I was just listening to your guest, and the only side I have joy with him is that I did not start condemning the Rivers State government, because when some people come to the studio, they will start to condemn the government, condemn. At the end of the day, if they give them the opportunity, just like what happened in Nigeria now with the challenge we are facing now, it was just condemn. Now the opportunity has come, and look at where we found ourselves. So that is the area I'm happy with the guest in the studio. But the question I have for him is that, number one, I've not been hearing about him, and this is the first time as a governorship candidate, whether it's something like that. So I've not been hearing his name, and I've not been hearing his advertisement, all this. So I don't know whether he's still in Nigeria or he's just staying in Nigeria to perform there.
Right.
Secondly,
so, yes.
Sometimes when you want to achieve something, you start from somewhere before you achieve that thing, because sometimes before your name will even say, you have already from your past side to deceive the people by bringing some certain things for them, even before you now seek for anything office. They will say this person with the way as a kind of a big man, he has been trying, he helped a lot, he has brought the youth to work, do this, do that. I've not even, so I don't know whether you as a governorship candidate, what have you done?
What has he done previously?
For the past?
Fantastic. Emmanuel, thank you so much for that question. And I'm going to be asking Dr. Lacy Borogbosi that. He wants to know, what have you done previously with all your expertise and strategy? Let's take another call. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. Point Blank.
Good morning, Pastor Shegu Lavi.
Good morning, sir.
Let me congratulate you for winning my city award a few days ago.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, my name is Royal Chief Ambassador Magnus Sido.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Shigo, I greet the doc in the studio. Good morning, distinguished.
Good morning, my chief.
Yes, Mr. Shigo, if you can carefully listen to the two gentlemen you have got an interview in your studio this morning, you see that we're going to have the best brain in the state. You see the dimensions they are taking leadership to. We want to digitalize leadership. But I want to ask our doc in the studio. He talks about consolidating on the good project the existing government, the present government has done. And he talks about developing on the areas he thinks we can take Rivers people to the next step. I want him to tell us what area did he think the Rivers present government has not done well. And if it's coming, he will develop on those areas. Is he talking about education? Is it security? Okay. Then finally, Shibu, I want to talk to also to do well to reach out to people. Reach out to people because the election is fast approaching. Okay. To do it to reach out to people in other areas so they can listen to him. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's just dwell on those two callers because several other callers are coming in. Now, the two of them, something similar about them is the fact that they feel they are not hearing so much about you and they want you to reach out. So what are you doing in that area of reaching out to the electorate? Let the electorate have an understanding of these fantastic ideas you have.
Okay, so let me quickly answer, provide some answers to those questions. But first of all, the first caller was talking about not condemning
the previous government.
Now, to me, that is very essential. It's very important because we have leaders who have become governors before. Now, those leaders are assets to Rivers State. So once you run down those individuals, then you are running down Rivers State. So what we are avoiding, it doesn't mean that they've done everything that we are taking 100%, but we are looking at them as assets.
And that's very key. I mean, that seems to be the first time I'm hearing you. Yes. So you are saying that past governors, past leaders of the state should be considered as assets.
They're assets. Because what happens, give an example, the current governor, when he leaves, if the current governor is involved in anything at all, they will not say, they won't call only his name. They say the former governor of Rivers State.
And again, it's also the wealth of experiences
there. Yeah, wealth of experience. Because one of the things people need to realize is that your network is so powerful. It's an asset. Now, these individuals who have governed Rivers State have network to the rest, to a whole wider people in Nigeria and also outside Nigeria. So if you treat them as an asset, it means that you can always leverage on that network, especially as a new governor, to further the interest of Rivers State. So those are what I'm looking at.
I just want us to do maybe 2 minutes about that because you see, you don't rubbish, you don't look down on your assets. Rather, you look a way of improving them.
Yes, so exactly.
Again, you're saying if we gather these previous governors together, their network is good enough to help us in Rivers State. So rather, we shouldn't rubbish them.
No, we shouldn't rubbish them because sometimes people are looking at the governor in place. Yeah. So they run down the governor, they want him to fail. But what people don't realize is that when you elect a governor on the first instance as 4 years, it is 4 years of your life. When the governor fails for 4 years, 4 years of your life is gone. So you must help the governor to make sure that he's able to deliver value. When it's time to change him, you want to change him, you nominate another person. So we are looking at the assets, how we can leverage on the assets. Now, in terms of what we've done, most of the work I've done, because I've not really been in an elective position before, I've done a lot of the work as a private individual.
True.
And I've spent a lot of money as a private individual. Like for instance, those who were footballers, in those days I used to run Kisi Football Club, moving it from a local football club to playing in National Division 2. And in those days I was spending a minimum about 100,000 for a weekend when the cost of land was 50,000.
And this is from your private pocket?
From my private pocket. And that was when a price of land was 50,000. So I used to tell people, and interestingly enough, I'm a chartered accountant, so I know the value of money. So if I had invested that kind of money that I was spending on Kisi Football Club, I can tell people today that I would have been one of the richest in Rivers State. But I did that because I used to look at my father. He wasn't rich, but he was doing what they call social investment. So a lot of things I've done is social investment. In 2015, for instance, we invested a lot in peaceful election. So we went to the rural communities and spent a lot of money. During the COVID period, I was producing free face masks and distributing around Rivers State. I was giving money to the widows. All this from my private pocket. We give scholarships, from the Great Boston Foundation. So we've done a lot as an individual.
Now, again, let us look at your strategy for solving the unemployment issue and enhancing the capacity of young people. Now, in your write-up supporting your manifesto, particularly in the area of creating job and empowerment, you said that you asked a question, and I was hoping you would have answered the question. But does money alone solve problem? You now went to say you need capacity to work. It means that the government needs to look more carefully at SMEs with the right potential. There is a need for capacity development. And you talk about Port Harcourt and other places. So again, you are saying that while it is good for government to provide financial support, money alone don't support. Perhaps you want to talk to us a little bit about that and your area of SMEs, how you think SMEs will be one of the strategy to reducing unemployment in the state.
Okay, so we have a whole suite of strategy we want to adopt for managing the job creation. One of them will be value system. So later we'll talk about the value system. We also will talk about collaboration within the sectors. We talk about what we call time horizon. How do we manage that? And then we look at the industries. Now, for us, if you are looking at job creation, one of the things we should realize, very important, I need to mention this.
Yeah.
Job does not arise on its own. Job is a result of something. Like you are in this studio now, Shehu, you cannot say, you want to create jobs for 20 journalists and you just employ them. When you employ them, what would they do? But if, for instance, there is an open up of River State, we're talking about 3 new cities. Now, if there are 3 new cities, Shehu, you want your Super FM to be operating from each of those cities. And therefore, once you do that, what happens? You need to employ people to be in those positions. So what we want to do is to increase economic and social activities that will require people. Very important. Now, when you are talking about job, like you mentioned, there are 2 kinds of capital. There is the human capital, there is the financial capital. And then there is the market. Now, if you have money, money alone cannot create value. Human capital is where the heavy value is created. And all over the world, we realize that there's a relationship between human capital and productivity. And then when people have also measured that the higher the level of investment in human capital, the higher the level of economic prosperity. If you look all over the world, where do you have the best business schools? They're in developed countries. Where do you have the best consulting firms? They're in developed countries. Where do you have the best foundations? They're in developed countries. There's a relationship between human capital and ability to drive the economy. So what we are saying is that when government wants to provide funding, the first bottom line is that we need to do what? We need to develop the human capacity. And the human capital, for example, that we're focusing on, we're looking at things like skills, your experience, training, education, even ability to be punctual for work, your attitude to work. So once you focus on that and you bring in the core important values, then you're able to use that to create value. So when you then create value, money provided by government becomes a facilitator. Because some of these individuals are very creative. They know what to do. They might not have the experience, so they need mentorship, they need coaching, and then they need capital. So what government will do is to help people to increase their human capacity, and then we will then do what? We will then provide fund. But apart from providing fund, we will also help to develop the market. Because we are competing, and I let everybody to understand, River State is not just state alone. We are competing for global resources. So we need to be visible. So we will develop human capital for those human capacity for those who want to run businesses. We are also going to develop the market. For example, we want River State to be visible. One of the things I'm going to do is that every ministry will have a social media advisor.
And what would be the job of that, and how would that solve the problem?
Good. The social media advisor, one of the key things they will do is they're able to explain to the people and let the world know what is our strategy, what is our plan.
Okay.
What is our performance? What are the resources that reside in each sector of River State, in the Ido Senatorial District, the coastal areas, the land areas? Where are those resources? Let the world know where the resources are.
So you're saying that the units will be that unit forms. They could use that, not necessarily creating social media units.
Yes, but I think that is part of the issue. There is the government, there is the people.
Okay.
I don't want the government and the people. I want an integrated process. I want all of us to know that all of us are contributing in growing Rivers State. That's why the common thing used to be said in those days, don't think of what American will do for you, think of what you do for America. That concept is about working together. So when we have those social media, it's not just government platform. They are interacting with the people. They are getting feedback from the people. So in other words, they don't just sit in government office. They sit with the people to be able to know what is existing in those areas.
Fantastic. I'm having a conversation with Dr. Lacy Borobosi. He's a strategy expert, and of course, he's worked around the globe and he's helped build brands around the globe with 20 years experience in the oil and gas sector. And he's been in politics for some time, and he's contesting to be the governor of Rivers State on the platform of the Action People's Party. He has a strategy for Rivers State in his manifesto, and amongst this 9-point strategy is job creation and human capacity development. And that's what we've been dwelling on this morning. We're asking him what are his agenda for fixing the huge unemployment number in Rivers State. And again, we're asking him how can he build capacity of young people in Rivers State. And that's what Dr. Lacy Borobosi is talking about. We'll just take some calls, and when we come back, Dr. Lacy Borobosi, I'll be sharing with you. I know that you don't like criticizing past government, but again, we'll be looking at the policies of past government in the area of job creation and why you think they have failed. So let's come back to the telephone lines now, 07050791021 and 08117431021. Let's just take 3 calls and we come back. Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is Point Blank.
Good morning, Shegu.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Akanto Butikore from Borogun.
Akanto, good morning.
Good morning, Tay. Well, my question is very simple. I think I like the analogy of the gubernatorial candidate. But the question will ask, I know you have done so much. I think I can test and I beat my chest that I am one of your beneficiaries. I think without you, I would have gotten a BA now in Ignatius University of Education. So thank you very much.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. My question is, sir, assuming without consider that you are not elected, God forbid, and somebody from your central district, Rivers Southeast Central District, emerge as the governor of Rivers State, who, if you request for your expertise, will you, sir, so support whosoever that emerge? And again, if you emerge as the governor of Rivers State, will you also seek the support of other gubernatorial aspirants from your own district to Kenu the governorship of Rivers State with you? And finally, sir, scholarship, I know you have been doing well in your own private life. That is why I say I'm a beneficiary of that. Will you see more vigor in scholarship scheme and bursary to Rivers State students? Thank you, God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful question there. So let's take this one. Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is Point Blank.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I've been to guest in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, this is Lugaman calling from here. Yeah, okay, you have spoken very well as a governorship candidate of your party. But I know too well that the Ogoni people have suffered marginalization in the state. And why not you, as a governorship aspirant, who I know too well that the party is not all over the state, it's not a grassroots party. Why not collapse your ambition with that of with that of APC, who a governorship deputy candidate is from Ogoni, so that in the next 80 years, Ogoni people can test the seat of governance in the state. Thank you. That is my position.
Lugaman, thank you so much. And let's take one more. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Are you there?
Good morning, the very distinguished Pastor Shebo. How are you doing this morning, sir?
And how are you doing? Good morning.
Yes, I'm doing great. Wishing you a fantastic new month. I remain the very distinguished Temple of God.
Yes, Temple of God.
Yes,
good morning.
I think I have listened.
Oh, apologies, Temple Okere. You might just want to come back again. Let's come to those two questions, and I think the questions share almost similarity. One is saying that will you be willing to work or collaborate with another political party should you win? And again, another is saying that again, are you willing to collapse the structure into another political party to, yeah?
Yeah, no, I think those questions are very, very fundamental questions. One, from my experience.
Please permit me, let's just take this call. I think Temple Okere is coming back. Good morning. Hello? Hello? Okay, you may go ahead.
Yes, okay, so from my experience, I've always been what we call the knowledge sharing coordinator. Okay. So in my previous work, I used to coordinate and help people to share knowledge. So that makes me easy for me to share knowledge very widely. Most of the knowledge I'm supposed to be paid, so I'm supposed to be highly paid for the knowledge that I share. But Rivers State, I'm very much interested in Rivers State, not just because I want to be governor, but also interested in an environment where my children can grow. So that's very important to me. For me, being elected as a governor is a grace and favor of God. So if I'm not a governor, it means God doesn't want me to be governor. Because for me, it's very easy. Why must I be a governor if God doesn't want it? Because whatever I'm going to deliver, whatever I am today is God. And whatever I'm going to be is God. So I don't have any problem of being a governor or not being a governor, you know. So for 50-something years, I made a good name when I was not a governor. And so I want to come into governance with that good name. So I will always be able to say I need support people to build a better Rivers State. Now, in terms of my party not being popular, I think that is a very fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is that it's just like the previous, one of the callers said, we've not been hearing about you. The truth that you've been hearing about me. But the point is that I'm not a member of the two big political parties. So what happens psychologically, when you are not a member of the big political parties, people hear about you, but they don't want to hear about you. Yeah, so that is a problem. So if you want to choose a governor, I've always been saying this before, it is not about popularity of a party. It is about this candidate possesses what I need in the governor to develop my future.
So you think people should look beyond political parties?
No, look beyond political parties. Some people have said before that an individual is in government since 1999. If 1999 experience to date has been fantastic, we will not be where we are today. So we are looking as individuals. If everybody that listens to me today, I am governorship candidate of Action People's Party. The logo of my party is elephant. So if everybody listens today and say, okay, this person makes sense, and then they go to their community and say, I've heard about somebody that makes sense. The news spreads immediately. Within 1 week, a candidate can be known all over Rivers State. But we have that psychological situation where we are blocking off people because they are not in the members of our party. If you go to the oil industry, like you mentioned a couple of times, I'm an expert in the oil industry. I'm heavily known. So if an individual has been in government in 1999, he must be known more than me. But can he deliver better governance? I'll leave for people to decide.
You know, Dr. Lacy Borobosi, in the course of this program, you've said to us that the focus should be on creating happiness for the citizen by increasing the Human Development Index. And you've told us how you plan to do that. Again, you've also said to us on this program that you don't believe in criticizing previous governors or past government because you see previous governors as assets to the state. But again, let us look at the policies and why some of these policies by government failed. For example, here in Rivers State, there have been several initiatives on job creation and capacity development. There was an initiative that was to build a cassava processing factory, a $12 million initiative, which was designed to create about 3,000 jobs. And I think that initiative was mentioned by the governor in October. There was also an initiative to recruit 10,000 teachers. There was an initiative for the Delta rubber plantation. That was also, in 2007. There was an initiative for 5,000 jobs in the civil service, several other initiatives. Again, you as a strategist and you as a politician planning to come to office to be the governor of Rivers State, why do you think these initiatives fail? Do you think they fail because they were not genuine enough or they were not well conceived?
Okay. I wouldn't just say they are not good or they are not well conceived. But I'll go back to what we and I have been talking about. You know, when we talk about global practices, there are certain steps you need to take. And that's what I highlighted at the beginning of our discussion. Strategy and structure.
Yeah.
So when I talk about the baseline, I talk about good governance, I talk about 8 pillars that will now lead to creating happiness. It's about that structure. So once you have that defined structure, you have that strategic plan, the next thing you want to do is to do measurements. So you can do, like all those things you mentioned now, at any point in time, can we measure what has been done and what has not been done? They are not connected. With a structure, it allows all that factor to be connected. I'll give you an example. One of the things that I've been studying, I think 2022 budget, government in Rivers State can have about 1 billion minimum. So if I have 1 billion and I put in the local government, and I'm able to give about, that's I'm coming. I'm saying it early enough.
Opportunity or money for the boys.
Okay, the difference is this. My father used to tell me that if you do a good road, you eat from it. So when I will construct that road, you don't construct that road, EFCC will do for you. I want to succeed. Show me you are my friend. I give you money to construct road, and you don't construct that road. You are now embedded in that road construction. You take that profit. That is what is due to you. So I'm sharing opportunity. Sharing of money means is that money that is available that would have done road construction, we just share it among ourselves. We're not going to have that opportunity anymore of sharing money among ourselves. We want to develop Rivers State. It is left for all of us to develop. So in the situation, do you know what will happen? You take that money and run away. You say it doesn't matter. When I give you that money, we give that money through the bank. You are going to drop your certificate and your school certificate and your NY certificate with the bank. You will not get your certificate back until you repay that money. Why is that money important to me? Because I want you to get out of poverty. I want to get people off the street. So when you are able to use that money and grow, you are able to now get out of poverty. You go back to what we said, that a man that cannot take care of household, your children are the next generation. You know, some of us, our parents were not that rich. But what did they do? They said, no, we didn't want our children to be at the level we are today. We want them to be better. So they invested in good education. I had very good education. So I want you to get off the street. You must use my money, and then you must grow. Because the collective wealth, let me just say this clearly.
Yes.
The wealth of Rivers State is not the oil and gas that we have. It's not the arable land. It's not the area of tourism. It's not the marine resources. Those ones are potential for wealth. It is when we convert those potential for wealth that becomes wealth. Now, if you look all over the world, the countries in the world that are the most wealthiest have the highest number of billionaires. I want you to be wealthy because the collective growth of Rivers State is not me as a governor. The collective growth of Rivers State is the aggregation of the wealth of all individuals. So when government provides the resources, it is not my money. If I'm not going to embezzle government money, you are not going to embezzle government money.
Fantastic. I've been having conversation with the Action People's Party governorship candidate, Dr. Lacy Borobosi. Dr. Lacy Borobosi has a 9-point agenda for Rivers State if voted governor, and amongst them is job creation and human capacity development. And that we have been talking about in the last 50 minutes or thereabout. Again, for Dr. Lacy Borobosi, he believes that if he becomes the governor, there will be a shared opportunity. He would share opportunity for Rivers people, but he will not share Rivers people's money. Let's just take some calls now. 07050791021 and 08117431021. Let's take a couple of calls. Well, we seem to be having Charlie there, but again, Jessica.